What's going on, guys? It is Carly here bringing you another weekly dose of horror, and today we're going to be talking about Children of the Corn Part 2, The Final Sacrifice from the year 1992. Obviously got in this little double pack here with Children of the Corn Part 3. I have Part 1 as well, but I have it on VHS. It's one of those odd ones that I don't own on any other format but VHS, but anyway, Children of the Corn 2, like I said, this was made in 1992, where the first one was made in, I believe, 1984, so it's a good while later, but I'm pretty sure, like, based on the events, the movie's supposed to take place, like, right after the events of Part 1, but the movie just happened to be made very far apart, but anyway, essentially, it opens up and you have this town of Hemmingford, which is basically the neighboring town to Gatlin, where the original events of the first movie took place, and they discover that all the kids are alone there and that all the parents are dead. So the kids from that town basically are moved over to this town of Hemmingford. And meanwhile, you have this tabloid reporter named John traveling with his teenage son that they don't really have a good relationship at all. It's very estranged, and there's just a lot of tension between the two of them, and they stop at this bed and breakfast where they encounter this one of the characters from Gatlin, and this new guy is trying to basically, you know, revive the whole cult and do what was going on in the first movie, and he kind of tries to lure the teenage boy that is, you know, traveling with his father into this. Teenage boy's name is Danny. So that's pretty much the storyline there. You also have some, like, side stories going on with the teenage boy and his father, as well as this love interest that he finds along the way and all that. Yeah, so this movie, unlike the first movie, this one is a lot more just, I guess you could say, goofy in a way. A lot of people kind of reference it as being one of those so bad it's good type of movies. First time I saw the film, I didn't really care for it too much. I just thought it was a little too silly and kind of cringy at times, and I just couldn't really get behind it. Upon this rewatch, I will say I had a much better time with it. It definitely would be a so bad it's good movie type of deal in my eyes. There's a lot of just very cheesy special effects, especially towards the end, and just a lot of deaths that come off as more comical than anything, and just some of the way the kid characters kind of overact and things like that. It just comes off as, like I said, very comical, and this one isn't nearly as serious as the first movie is. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Children of the Corn to begin with. I like the film, but it's not one that I would run back to and want to rewatch over and over again. I've seen it a good amount of times, but it's just not one of my favorites. So this whole franchise in general, I haven't even seen all the films because I just haven't been all that interested. But yeah, this movie, like I said, I think it's definitely a fun time. There are some ridiculous moments in it, but there's also some kills that are decent. There's one in particular that's kind of done in a voodoo doll type-esque way, and I actually find it kind of disturbing. The first time I saw it, I remember thinking, like, oh, that's actually kind of, you know, gruesome and gross, and this time around, I thought the same thing. But yeah, you know, you have some cringy moments between, like, the son and his father. It seems like in the 90s there was a big thing with parents either being divorced or just having bad relationships with their kids, and that was kind of like the big over-dramatic thing in 90s. I noticed it a lot in just these movies and in TV shows, and that's kind of what you have going on here. It's a son who really didn't spend much time with his father growing up, and there's a lot of that just very cheesy drama that makes it seem like the end of the world type of deal going on in the film. But you know, other than that, the effects in the movie aren't that great. Like I said, the acting is a little bit over the top by some characters, but all those aspects kind of make it enjoyable to watch. I would recommend it. It seems like one of those movies that would just be fun to kind of throw on with a group of friends and not really take too seriously. I was actually wrapping some Christmas gifts while watching the film, so it's one of those ones that you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention to really know what's going on and to really have an enjoyable time with. So I do recommend it for those aspects alone. I give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. I feel like that's a rating I never really throw out all that much, but it's not really as good as the 7, and to me 6 just seems a little bit too low for it, so 6.5 for Children of the Corn Part 2, and of course, next week we will be covering Children of the Corn Part 3. I remember liking that one quite a bit more than Part 2, but we'll see if my opinion has changed, because I'd only seen the movies once before, doing this, so we will have to see about that. So I will see you guys then. Thank you once again for checking out the video, and I'll see you next week.